Imagine standing on a stage, holding the highest award in your field, or watching your partner walk down the aisle, or holding your newborn child for the very first time. These are the peak moments of human joy, the absolute pinnacle of happiness. So, why does your body react as if you just experienced a tragedy? Your chest tightens, your throat constricts, tears stream down your face. It is a profound biological paradox. We cry when we are broken, but we also cry when we are whole. Our brains seem to confuse the best moments of our lives with the worst. If you enjoy learning how your body, mind, and world really works, subscribe now, because this channel breaks down complex things in simple ways. To understand this glitch in human nature, we have to look past the tears and peer into a deeply hidden survival mechanism that keeps you from losing your mind. At its core, crying when you are happy feels like a design flaw. We are taught from childhood that emotions are binary. Light and dark, joy and sorrow, smile when you win, weep when you lose. But the human brain does not operate in neat little boxes. When we look at someone weeping at a wedding or sobbing after winning an Olympic gold medal, we are witnessing a phenomenon known as a dimorphous expression. This simply means displaying a negative reaction to a deeply positive experience. For decades, scientists ignored this overlap, assuming it was just an accidental spillover of intense emotion. But that assumption was wrong. It is not a mistake. It is an essential psychological reset button. To see how this works, we have to look at what happens when joy becomes dangerous. But here is where it gets interesting. Your brain does not actually care if you are happy or sad. It only cares about balance. Think of your emotional state as an electrical grid. When you experience a normal day, the voltage is steady. But when something incredibly joyful happens, the voltage spikes. You are hit with a massive wave of euphoria. Your heart rate accelerates, your stress hormones activate, your nervous system goes into overdrive. To the primitive parts of your brain, extreme joy looks exactly like extreme trauma. Both threaten to overload the system. If the voltage stays too high for too long, it can become physically and mentally exhausting. The brain needs a lightning rod to ground the energy, and that is exactly what tears are. They are a biological cooling mechanism. In 2015, researchers at Yale University conducted a landmark study on this exact behavior. They exposed participants to overwhelmingly positive scenarios, like reunited families or incredibly cute babies. They discovered that the people who expressed negative reactions, like crying or wanting to pinch a baby's cheeks, recovered from their emotional spikes much faster than those who tried to maintain a pure smile. The tears were actively dragging them back to baseline. If we did not have this physical release, our bodies would remain trapped in a state of hyperarousal. But that is only half the story. The physical reset is crucial, but the social signal is even more powerful. Human beings are intensely social creatures. Every facial expression we make is a form of communication. A smile says, "Come closer, I am safe." A frown says, "Stay away, I am hurting." But a happy tear communicates something far more complex. It signals a vulnerability that words cannot capture. Anthropologists have traced this back to early human tribal structures. When a hunter achieved a monumental victory or a mother successfully gave birth, a display of pure, unadulterated joy could sometimes be misinterpreted by others as dominance, arrogance, or a threat. By introducing tears into a moment of triumph, you instantly disarm the people around you. It adds a layer of humility and shared humanity to your success. It tells your community that even though you are experiencing something extraordinary, you are still fragile, grounded, and connected to them. It converts an individual victory into a collective bond, and this is where most people get it wrong. We think we cry because the happiness is just too big to contain, but the truth is much more profound. We cry because we are mourning what it took to get there. Every great joy carries the shadow of the struggle that preceded it. Think of a medical student who finally passes their board exams after a decade of sleepless nights and crippling debt. When they see the passing grade, they break down. They are not just crying because they are happy in that exact second. They are crying because the immense weight of the last 10 years has suddenly been lifted. The tears are a physical manifestation of relief. They represent the closure of a grueling chapter. Consider the famous case of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. British runner Derek Redmond tore his hamstring during the 400-meter semifinal. Determined to finish, he began limping around the track in agonizing pain. His father ran out from the stands, put his arm around his son, and helped him cross the finish line. The crowd wept. It was a moment of profound heartbreak, but also of beautiful triumph. When we witness or experience these moments, the tears are a bridge between the pain of the journey and the beauty of the destination. But let us take this a step further into a territory that feels a bit more unsettling. What happens if this system breaks down? Imagine a life where your emotional thermostat is broken. If your brain loses the ability to trigger these negative responses during positive highs, the consequences are surprisingly severe. Psychologists have found that individuals who cannot regulate their emotional spikes often suffer from chronic burnout and severe emotional volatility. Without the grounding effect of tears, a moment of intense joy can quickly mutate into anxiety, panic, or mania. The high becomes so overwhelming that the nervous system treats it as a threat, sending the body into a state of fight or flight. You become trapped in your own euphoria, unable to come down. It turns out that crying is not a sign of weakness during your happiest moments. It is your psychological armor. It keeps you sane when reality becomes too good to be true. To understand the chemistry behind this, we have to look inside the brain's command center. Specifically, at a tiny, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system. It processes all emotional stimuli, but the amygdala is not very sophisticated when it comes to sorting emotions. It relies on a simple volume dial. When the volume of an emotion gets turned up to 10, whether it is horror or ecstasy, the amygdala sends an urgent distress signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the manager of your autonomic nervous system. It controls your heart rate, your body temperature, and your tear glands. When it receives that high-volume signal from the amygdala, it does not stop to read the fine print. It does not look outside to see if you are at a funeral or a wedding. It just knows that the emotional pressure is dangerously high, so it pulls the emergency lever. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming you down, slows your heart, lowers your blood pressure, and activates the lacrimal glands behind your eyes. Suddenly, your eyes well up with tears. These are not ordinary tears. Emotional tears contain high concentrations of leucine and enkephalin, a natural painkiller and mood regulator. As these tears spill over, your body is literally washing away the chemical stress of the emotion. It is a pharmacy built into your face, operating on autopilot. This brings us to a beautiful, yet unanswered question about the nature of human consciousness. If our bodies are designed to constantly pull us back to a neutral baseline, does that mean pure, unadulterated happiness is something we are fundamentally not built to sustain? Perhaps our biology is telling us that the human experience was never meant to be a static state of joy. We are creatures designed for contrast. We need the valley to appreciate the peak, and we need the salt of our tears to truly feel the sweetness of our triumphs. The next time you find yourself weeping during a moment of profound happiness, do not wipe the tears away in embarrassment. Do not apologize for breaking down. Your body is performing a masterpiece of biological engineering. It is holding you steady in the storm of your own joy, ensuring that you can survive the brightest moments of your life. It is a reminder that we are beautifully, fragilely human, and that sometimes the only way the heart can handle being completely full is to let it overflow.